Hello and welcome to today's episode of English Made Simple, where we break down the process of learning English and share experiences, tips, and strategies to help you along your journey. I'm your host, and today we're going to dive into what it's really like to learn English as a beginner. Whether you're just starting or have been learning for a while, this episode will offer some helpful advice from my own experience and the experiences of others. Let's begin by talking about the early days of learning English. Segment 1. Starting out. The challenges and motivation. When you're first learning a language, like English, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. I remember the first time I started learning. The alphabet was familiar, but everything else felt so different. I wanted to learn English because it's such a global language. I knew that if I could speak English, new opportunities would open up for me, but that doesn't mean it was easy. The first challenge most beginners face is fear. You might be afraid of making mistakes, sounding silly, or not being able to understand others. But here's something I wish I had known earlier. Mistakes are a huge part of learning. If you're not making mistakes, you're not pushing yourself enough. If you're just starting, remember this. Don't be afraid of mistakes. English is like any skill, you need to practice it to improve. No one speaks perfectly when they start. Segment 2. Building the foundation. Now, let's talk about building the foundation for learning English. For beginners, the key is to start simple. Focus on the basics like learning common phrases, understanding basic grammar, expanding your vocabulary. When I first started, I made flashcards of the most common words and phrases. I'd practice them every day, even if I only had 5 or 10 minutes. The goal is to get used to hearing and seeing the language regularly. But remember, learning grammar and vocabulary is only one part of the puzzle. You need to start using the language. The earlier you start speaking and listening, the faster you'll improve. Some people focus too much on getting grammar perfect from the beginning. While grammar is important, don't let it stop you from communicating. Even if your sentences aren't perfect, trying to express yourself is key. Segment 3. Using media to learn English. One of the best ways to learn English, especially for beginners, is to surround yourself with the language. This can be through watching English TV shows or movies with subtitles, listening to English podcasts, reading simple books in English. I personally found TV helpful. At first, I watched with subtitles in my own language, but as I got better, I switched to English subtitles, and eventually, I could watch without them. One of the shows I watched early on was a children's show which had simple language and was easy to understand. If you're learning now, try finding content that you enjoy. Maybe it's cartoons, educational YouTube videos, or music. The key is to engage with English regularly. The more you hear the language, the more natural it will become for you to understand it. Segment 4. Consistency is key. One of the most important things to remember is that learning a language takes time. You won't become fluent overnight, and that's okay. It's the small steps that matter. You need to practice consistently, even if it's just for 20-30 minutes a day. Set goals for yourself. Maybe this week, you'll focus on learning 20 new words. Next week, you might want to practice speaking with a language partner. The key is to keep going even on the days when it feels hard. Trust me, there will be days when you feel like you're not improving at all, but those small everyday practices will add up over time. Personally, I tried to practice speaking English every day, even if it was just talking to myself. I also wrote a few sentences every day, just to practice forming thoughts in English. These small habits make a big difference in the long run. Segment 5. Finding a learning community. Something that really helped me on my journey was finding a community of other learners. If you can find others who are also learning English, you can motivate and help each other. Whether it's an online group or a local language exchange, having people to practice with makes the process more enjoyable. I joined a group online where people from different countries practice English together. It wasn't just about learning from a textbook, it was about real conversations, helping each other understand new phrases, and sometimes just laughing at the mistakes we made. If you're listening to this and don't know where to find a community, start by looking at social media or language learning apps like Duolingo, HelloTalk, or Tandem. Many of these platforms allow you to connect with others who are learning English or native speakers who want to help. Segment 6. Real-life practice. One of the scariest but most rewarding parts of learning English is using it in real-life situations. When you start using English with native speakers or in a real conversation, you'll quickly realize how much you've learned. I remember the first time I had to ask for directions in English. I was so nervous. But even though I made a few mistakes, the person understood me, and I felt so proud of myself. That's the kind of experience that motivates you to keep learning. Don't wait until you're fluent to use English. The more you use it in everyday situations, the better you'll get. Start small, order food in English, greet people in English, or even try to write your grocery list in English. Segment 7. Celebrate your progress. Finally, I want to say this. Celebrate your progress. Learning a language is tough, and it's easy to focus on what you don't know. But take a moment to look back at how far you've come. When I first started learning English, I could barely introduce myself. But now, I can hold conversations, watch movies, and even listen to podcasts like this one. Every step forward is a success. So if you're just starting out, or if you've been learning for a while, be proud of the progress you've made. Keep going. And remember that learning English is a journey. There's always something new to learn. And that's what makes it exciting. Thank you so much for tuning into English Made Simple. I hope today's episode gave you some helpful insights into learning English as a beginner. Remember, you're not alone on this journey, and with patience and practice, you'll get there. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and share it with others who are learning English. Until next time, keep practicing, keep learning, and take it one step at a time. See you in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Subscribe my channel.